Hi guys! So today's video is going to be a little bit different from what I usually do. Today we're going to be painting a very good dog called Wilson. He belongs to a friend of mine. And yeah, I thought he was really cute. You can follow him on Instagram, the links will be down below and at the end of the video. And we're going to be drawing him today. Look at his little face, isn't he lovely? So I recorded this footage last year before I realized my lights actually had a flicker, so I'd like to apologize for that. But this is how I usually prep for a painting. So I make sketchbook studies and I try and figure out the shapes and the lines before jumping into any heavy lifting, so to speak, in terms of drawing. Here I'm just scouring Wilson's Instagram off camera and finding the best photos to sketch from. He's got so many, so it was kind of hard to choose. He's such a cute little patoot. Look at his face. To sketch, I'm using Pentel colored graphite in a mechanical pencil. I think it's about 0.7 millimeters, whatever those measurements are. There isn't a specific reason I do this in colored pencil. I just like how it looks, and I like my sketchbook to look a little bit more colorful and vibrant and stuff. I'm using a kneaded eraser to lighten the lines of any mistakes I've made. This way I can still see where I went wrong, but I'm better able to visualize where the correct line is supposed to go. The kneaded eraser doesn't completely erase the line, which is useful when you're sketching. The sketchbook I'm using is by C. White of Brighton. I got it from their website. I really love this sketchbook. The paper is really high quality. We don't get into it in this video as I'm not using any wet media in the sketches, but it holds water really well and the buckling is minimal. I'm very fond of this sketchbook. I'd highly recommend it to anyone. The point of all these little studies at this point is so when I'm drawing on the painting surface, my hand is a little bit more familiar with the shapes, and overall that will make the drawing look more confident. Well, I mean, that's the idea anyway. So here we are at the beginning of the painting stage. A few things are going on here. Because I'm going to be using watercolors for this, I'm switching over to watercolor paper. You really don't need the expensive watercolor paper for small little project like this. This stuff is cheap. I got it in like Tiger or somewhere for €4 or €5 for a whole pad. If you want to do something that's more detailed, that you're planning on selling, or that you want to expose to light for a long time, then you would consider getting something more expensive. But for fun little things like this, cheap stuff's grand, don't worry about it. But because this paper is so thin, I've taken the precaution of taping down the edges of the page with washi tape. You can do this with masking tape either. I just use washi tape because it's pretty. This is for a lot of reasons. It's mostly so the paper doesn't buckle too much as it dries, or if I happen to get it too wet or put too much water on it. It's also going to give the final painting a really cool white border whenever it's removed. The most important part is the peelies, though. The peeling it peeling off the tape at the end is really, really satisfying. It's just, I don't know, if you enjoy the sensation of like peeling things, it's worth it, I think. I've got footage of that. It's at the end. Don't worry, I caught the best part. So anyway, back to the painting. I've done the sketch in a normal HB pencil, and I've added the base layers of watercolor. I've used a hairdryer now and then to speed up the drying process because I'm impatient. Also, this is the benefit of taping down your paper. The quick heat won't buckle the paper as badly if it wasn't taped down. Then the process is really just working from the light colors up to the dark colors, sometimes giving it a blast of a hairdryer in between layers. I'm using my sketchbook, you can see there off to the side, to test my colors on before committing the color to the painting. I'm using Winsor & Newton Cotman half pan watercolors. Oh, there's a mouthful. Again, this stuff is fairly cheap. I'm not an expert at using watercolors, so I'm sticking to the student grade supplies at the minute. Watercolor really is just like anything else. It takes time and practice and a ton of patience, which is something that I don't have a lot of. The best way to learn, at least for me, is by watching other people paint. If you couldn't tell by now, this is not a tutorial, but I would totally recommend looking up some of those. Paint, especially watercolor, behaves so very differently. All it takes is some practice and you'll be flying along in no time. Just remember to have patience with yourself, most of all, and forgive yourself for your mistakes. You know, life is life and people make mistakes, and that's okay, because then we learn. So I'm using synthetic brushes for this. Again, these are cheap brushes. I'll leave a link to the specific ones I'm using down below, but for watercolor, when you're starting out, anything that has a point when wet and is soft when dry is a good bet. Brushes are the one thing I'd probably recommend investing a little bit in at first. I mean, they're your instruments, after all. You wouldn't make a drawing with a terrible pencil, you know? So I think I missed a ton of footage in here somewhere, where I basically touched up the whole piece with a black fine liner and then some white gel pen. I might have used the odd colouring pencil, I can't remember. I record videos on my phone and sometimes it just stops recording. So yeah, thanks for that, phone. And now for the best part, it's the peelies! Not only is this very satisfying to do, but the lovely white border it leaves around the edges of the painting are so crisp. A few tips before you do the peelies on your own paintings. Make sure your paint is 100% dry before doing this. Wet paint means wet paper, and wet paper is more likely to tear up and rip your painting. Similarly, you always want to pull the tape in the opposite direction from the painting, so pulling it away from the paint. This way, if tearing does happen, it's more likely to happen on the unpainted part of the paper. Aside from all that, just go slow and take it easy and enjoy your peelies. And there we have it. Lovely Wilson in all his fluffy glory. I've never met this dog. He lives very, very far away from me, which is an utter shame. But I know he's a good boy. Look at his face, how could he not be? In total, this painting took about 3 hours, including sketching and researching, and I am pretty happy with how it turned out. Thank you very much to Wilson's mum for allowing me to paint her beautiful baby boy. Go follow Wilson and his adventures on Instagram, Wiley Wilson Wallace. You won't be disappointed. The link is down below as well, in case I have mispronounced it, which I probably have. So, thank you all for joining me, friends. I hope to see you next time. Stay safe out there, and other things that we say in our outro. Okay, bye!